Right. Regarding
It's days like
365 going
today where
live.
when your notifications just explode everywhere, and you pretty
You
much
are
get
so
no
right.
work done.
Yeah, and you excitedly want to
just
just
becomes
jump
an
in and
MVP
try
day.
everything. And we're live on Periscope. So this is Daryl as a service for Regarding 365. And we're excitedly put this broadcast together because we got talking on Twitter about some big news around guest access being enabled for Microsoft Teams. And who did we happen to bump into on the Twitterverse but Matt Landis. Hi there, Matt. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. And then we also have Loryan and Strant, our buddy from the Regarding 365 team there too, who's written a lot about Teams recently.
Yes,
so yeah,
seems to be the rage these days.
Funny that. And today, definitely the rage for today, because guest access has been a keenly anticipated feature. So Matt, you had a little early access, and I know you can't talk much about that, but we're definitely interested in your viewpoints from a Skype for Businessman. In terms of what you're seeing, how you're seeing Teams being used, and what it's like for those who are considering that shifting from a Skype for Business environment. So we will just have a quick look through at the setup, and definitely pass comments, guys, and ask questions of each other. But I'm going to just share my screen quickly, and we'll have a look at some of the initial things that we've found as far as resources go. So have either of you spent a bit of time today in this article? This is the guest access in Microsoft Teams.
I think there was a lot of Skype for Business and Teams people whose eyeballs were on that article.
Yeah, and I've been looking through the FAQs to see what doesn't work. So looking forward to stress testing it soon.
Yeah. So as you looked at that, what does and doesn't work, was there anything that particularly stuck out to you? The doesn't work list, was it small enough for you?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, it was smaller than I expected. I think that I think that external access now changes the way that we converse with each other in a lot of ways externally to the organization, whereas before this we had to still stick to Yammer external groups or emails or Skype for Business. So one of the things I didn't see, and it might have been because I didn't get a chance because I've been rushing between a few things this morning, is more so if let's say, Matt, you've disabled Teams full stop as a license in your tenant, can I still get you into it if you're a guest in my team? I'm going to hazard a guess to say no, because Teams is fully blocked. But yeah, that's the thing that I just haven't. It's probably there. I just haven't had a chance to see it.
Yeah, we can.
Go ahead.
You can have a quick look at the licensing area of that, because that's certainly one thing that as we were all trying to figure out, can we enable this? It's the blog post is out there. It looks like we can invite guests, but every time I invite them, they keep being removed from my team. What's the story? And so this is where we have to go in and enable that. So initially we were in our service add-ins, and we went into the Microsoft Teams area. Down here with settings by user and license type, we had initially business and enterprise, and guest has been added just recently, so we can switch that on. So yeah, good question, Loryan. If we turn that off, does that mean that guests no longer have access?
Yeah, because I think where this is the game changer is generally if we want to collaborate with people externally, we've had to rely on them having similar technologies to us. I mean, email has been the breakthrough there because virtually everybody has email. But for people to communicate with others using Yammer, they need to also not necessarily have the organization on Yammer, but be able to sign up as a guest to Yammer. Whereas Skype for Business, yes, you can have a meeting on Skype for Business, but I can't have a really individual conversation with Daryl if you don't also use Skype for Business. So that's where I think Teams kind of levels that playing field, and I think gives a lot more opportunity. So we don't have to worry about if this organization is a Cisco house, but they use Office 365 for email, then in theory I should be able to then still talk to them using Teams.
Yeah, Matt, how do you see the external experience for guests benefiting customers?
Yeah, well, so one of the things currently with Skype for Business Federation, the initial connection between organization is really smooth. So if both sides have federation, kind of as Loryan already said, if you have the same on both sides, the experience of the initial connection is just the one-to-one. It's impossible to beat. Skype for Business is really, really clean. Now, on the ongoing Teams and group conversation, where you have people that don't have Skype for Business, Teams is really powerful. I mean, just the group conversation is a really, really nice experience. It keeps everything at one place. You can search it. You can, obviously pull people in that haven't done a great deal of work to get federation. They really don't, if they have Office 365, they can come in, at least theoretically, without any technical hiccups. So I'm really optimistic about the group conversation part of things. I think there's more work that needs to be done on the one-to-one. I think that's a little immature at the moment in comparison to what Skype for Business can do. But the group, clearly, it's hard to look back. It's really good.
Yeah. So up until Teams, we were really looking at the persistent chat experience within Skype for Business, and I'm sure you've had plenty of experience implementing that for customers who have wanted those chat rooms. But yeah, the Teams aspect, there's been that big focus on trying to get conversation alongside content, or bringing content into the conversation with tabs, with connectors, or now they're called apps. So it's exciting to see that. And, now that we can extend that experience to our external guest users, then yeah, it's definitely good that we can have that collaborative experience all in that one place, and leveraging the Teams experience. So yeah, welcome back, Loryan. So speaking of technical difficulties, we did have a droppage there.
It happens. It happens.
It does happen.
But another thing to say while he's getting in, one of the things, Skype for Business, we can be really focused on the instant message and the audio and video. But one of the things to remember is Teams is far more encompassing than just that audio conversation or video conversation or IM. It's it really brings all the Office 365 pieces into the conversation, a little bit like you just said.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it a lot more powerful than Skype for Business, which is slightly, it's slightly out of the loop, not nearly as pulled into the loop.
Yeah, no, that's right. We've been enjoying some of the benefits of Teams, and as people have been getting familiar with it during the preview and the general availability, there's lots of advice around how to use it internally to structure projects, how we work on customer work, and just getting that quick, responsive communication and collaboration within those teams. So I guess we've talked enough, I guess, about some of the benefits. We should really get this guest access up on screen. Let me just share my screen again. Yeah, we've got that there. right. So this is your tenant, Matt, that you invited us to, Landis Technologies. So we were going to try and get this to a point somehow where we would share this over the broadcast, looking together and making a call. But let's just step through. You're actually seeing on screen my experience as a guest in Matt's tenant. I've been invited in. I got that email to say you've been invited to be part of a team, and I've clicked through and gone through to experience that. And initially, this was my experience, that I was at a landing page. Let me get into here. So I click through this invite, open in Teams. I got through to an invite to say, do I want to open it in the web app or in Microsoft Teams? So I have opened it in the web app just to give us some idea of what that looks like. Now,
what would you say about the enrollment, as a guest? What was the steps? Was it more than you were clicks, or say a little bit about that?
I think.
Yeah, I will. Go ahead there, Loryan.
I think the enrollment was actually quite simple, but what I do think though is the use of the term tenant, I think is probably used a little bit too comfortably. I don't think that end users are comfortable or really familiar with what the term tenant means from an Office 365 vernacular. We write about it, we talk about it all the time, but an end user, they don't understand your tenant, my tenant. I think if they use the word environment or something else, would probably be better. So I think because of that, the switch between, hey, you're connecting into Matt's team, or you're connecting into Loryan's team, into Daryl's team, was just a little bit confusing because of that. Hey, you need to switch tenant. What does that mean?
Yeah. I'll bring that up on screen. You keep passing the comment there. So this is our experience. I mean, my home tenant is Adopt and Embrace, and Matt, you sent the invite to me. I accepted that, but to be able to participate in this guest team as a guest user, I am switching to the Landis Technologies tenant, and like Loryan said, that was a surprise to me, that I'm switching away. And what does that mean for keeping up to date with messages across the two different environments? What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, my initial when I first saw that that's the way it's going to handle being guests in multiple other teams. But having used it, it is a matter, there will be a badge on the account that has some activity in it, along with on the down the lower corner where it says Landis Technologies, there'll be a badge there that lets you know that something is in there to read. So it kind of guides you to switch the account. But I have to admit, I would prefer to see that there wasn't that you didn't need to do that switch back and forth. It feels a little like that should just be taken care of. I would agree. It's not that it's technically hard to do, but it kind of interrupts your flow, and it's not on the PC client. It is 20 to 30 seconds to actually do it. So that's another thing. If that was instantaneous, that could also ease the pain a bit. But it sure would, how it should look. Would you want all your teams stacked up, or do you want them somehow nicely divided so But in any event, switching is a little unexpected, and I'd prefer to see that somehow go away. I'll agree.
Yeah, I think that's actually a point. I mean, that switching perspective as a person who deals with organizations, having to switch between different tenants that we see there, as Daryl, you've got in the bottom of the corner. That being said, though, that experience is not dissimilar from what we see in Yammer when we have to switch different Yammer networks. So I think people might potentially be already somewhat comfortable with that. And we already kind of see that little dot above the gear icon in Yammer now, to show you, hey, there's something that relates to you in another network. So I guess this is doing the same, where it actually bolds, adopt and embrace or Landis to prompt you to switch back. I don't really see, more of an engineering question about how we can have all of our guest teams showing up in one environment, one scroll window or something like that. While that would be nice. However, one thing that I would probably say is what this does allow us to do is thinking about to when Daryl and I first started working on regarding Office 365. We had an issue around Office 365 groups, which is how do I surface the resources of a group that I'm a guest in? So unless you bookmark the guest page, you couldn't find your way back to it unless you dug up that email. So I think that this adds extra on top of that, which is now I can still access those other group resources, mainly, let's say, files, because they're within the Teams interface to get access to. So that will be interesting to see how that changes the behavior of things.
Well, look, while we're on there and talking about files and within the guest access, so I've uploaded these 4 files, and one experience we have while we're in a team is that we can have a conversation around those files. So let's select one like this change request form. I guess we have to open it up. Yeah. So this should open up in Office Online. We can edit it in the browser, so that would be fine. We've got the ability to open it up in Word on our desktop. Oh, edit in Teams. What does that mean? That looks like a new option to me. It used to be just Word or Word Online. So what does that mean? Should I do it?
Sorry,
live?
Daryl, which group were you in to find those files?
So this is, let's go back. This was the
general
channel.
Yep.
General channel, yeah.
All right.
Going back in. We'll start a conversation around that because that's what we should be doing. Start off with start convo. So, hey, can you let's mention the channel general. So you guys should all get this alert. Please review and let me
Interesting,
know.
I've actually just done edit in Teams and it's loaded Word Online within the team. It still says Word Online.
This is good because beforehand, when you click Edit and Word Online, it will open up in a separate browser tab, takes you away from Teams. So this is an improvement, Edit in Teams. So we're just going to show you what Loryan was seeing, opening up Word Online.
Actually, I've had an interesting question here. Does the Teams guest user have to have an Office 365 license? As this person has invited a B2B user, and it says they need to upgrade their Office 365 subscription. That's something we might have to check out. Not sure if we do that right now.
Well, at the moment, it's available to Office 365 users. Feel free to jump in here, guys, and do some co-authoring. Not that it's exciting content, a change request form. But yeah.
Old school
I know
shaming.
that. Yeah, that's right. Who's typing something here at the top there? So I can see that is Loryan typing something into the title, and then here's me. Matt, have you got the document open?
Yes, I do, and just having a little sluggish PC here. No, I don't think that's any reflection, people, of your experience of using Microsoft Teams. It's because all three of us are trying to push our video up over not the greatest bandwidth in the world, rendering that and also trying to experience co-authoring. So this is not the usual use case. But I can see Loryan editing.
We're also, as we were talking about earlier, is right now we're kind of in the throes of literally all this stuff happening live. So we're getting notifications galore, instant messages galore. So it's an interesting time. What a time to be alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I agree, it's not my normal experience in Teams. I think, but my normal experience in Teams is very responsive. That's the experience I've been noticing.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just, Loryan, if you could just mention me somewhere in that conversation. I just want to see what that experience is like. It's probably the same for activity. Should get a little bell or a little notification badge up on the top right left-hand corner here. There we go. So I've got on my main monitor, I've got my notification from Windows 10. I have been mentioned there. I guess I'm not going to see that notification of I'm actually in the conversation. So I won't see that activity right up here. But as you can see, I've clicked through, and if I was not in the conversation thread itself, I would have seen that notification badge. So it's easy enough to just connect back in and open up that document by clicking the document link in the conversation. And I might be back in here working online, editing that content with my team. So yeah, that's cool. We've tested out one of those.
I tried to do something there that Word I don't believe can do, because I know that I think within Teams you can @mention people in the notebook. Somewhere I'm losing
wiki?
my marbles at the moment. In the wiki,
Yeah.
yes, that's it. Sorry, because the OneNote was the original wiki. So I've just tried to @mention you in the Word document that we're talking about, but that hasn't actually happened.
No, so that would be quite something to eventually bring @mentions into documents.
Well, because what you could say is,
listening.
hey, @Daryl, can you please write the section in here?
True. Yeah, or even
leveraging blocks of text and say.
Yeah, I think it's even leveraging the document comments that we've had in Word and Excel, PowerPoint, etc. for quite some time. If you can bring that into the Teams experience, would be awesome. But we're certainly going through a common use case that you would see when you're collaborating with a guest user, that we might be working on a proposal, a project, a document, and we're doing that all at the same time.
I'm actually going to open this document in Word and see if the chat somehow still appears in there. Because as we know with co-authoring, what it does is show Skype of people who are in this particular document. So I can, anybody I'm co-authoring with, I can have a Skype conversation. But given that we're not using Skype for that, where we started off with Teams, I do wonder what will actually happen with this particular one. Stuart says, hi, Daryl.
Hey, Stu. Let's upload something random again. So, I mean, it's drag and drop, of course. You don't have to upload this way, but I'm going into demo documents and finding something small-ish. Employee evaluations. And if you're wondering where my demo documents have come from, it's from the old Office tenants that you used to be able to spin up for demo. I just grabbed a bunch of them.
I'm actually, as I've opened Word, the experience that I've got, and unfortunately I can't share my screen at the same time, is that it asked me to sign in, but it didn't say where to. I just said sign in. So I've put in my tenant credentials, as that's what's connected to the team. And I'm just waiting while my machine... Oh, here we go, and I'm just it's taking me back. Tell us the account you wish to open, or the account you want to use to open general. So I'll try it.
That would be a safe expectation, wouldn't it? That if you've been invited using those credentials, that you should be able to access that document in this team. So there's clearly a bit of work to go.
Well, I think that, and I really don't know whose problem this is to resolve, but if you think about it, right now, Matt may have some conditional access turned on for his tenant that says that I can't access files on a non-Azure AD Intune enrolled machine. So I, as the end user, don't necessarily know that that's the administrative policy. So one of the things is, so I'm now stuck in this loop where it keeps asking me to sign in because I'm using the Word FAT client off my local machine trying to access a file in Matt's tenant. So one of the things that I think will have to probably be addressed is when probably people share with each other is to kind of explain a little bit more, saying, hey, you can do this, but you can't do this because our organizational policy prevents it. That being said, it could potentially not be anything to do with the policy, and it could just be because this is fresh out of the oven.
The cake isn't iced yet. Hey, so we've looked at a collaboration scenario. I know that we probably won't be able to easily demonstrate a call because we've all got our video working, but let's see how far we can get with that. Because Matt, this will be definitely your area of interest. So it is simply that you are using your video meet now button. So I'll start that off. You're not going to see my video because I wonder if I can trick it into using a different camera. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I'm going to try the same.
Or I'm just going to crash the world.
If I wanted to tax out my Surface Pro 4 any further.
Oh, yeah, it's using that crazy integrated camera on the Dell XPS 15. You know, the one where I'm typing and the camera's right down by your fingers. Okay. So I don't expect you guys to be able to...
I'm not seeing your video yet. There we go. All right, I'm going to join and see what breaks on my end.
Even if you're you can do.
That's what's going to break. Either of us don't have decent enough bandwidth to maintain this call plus a Microsoft Teams call.
I'm switching cameras.
We've got some echo.
There we go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Matt's struggling from a bandwidth point of view. Loryan, if you could mute your mic in Teams.
That's interesting because right now it's using the same headset in both Teams and Skype.
So it can share.
So what I need to do now is use my phone and rebroadcast this. We can go full Escher. Or Inception. We'll go Inception. Now share. Oh. All right. I'm going to break this.
What else can you do? Oh, well, the other thing I wanted to show you is that even as a guest, I can still, maintain that call up on the top left-hand corner and branch out to the rest of the team's experience and work on a document or continue with the chat. So, I mean, you can see in here, I could say, hi, Loryan.
There we go.
At Loryan.
I'm actually now sharing what you're seeing now is sharing my Skype window in the Teams chat.
Oh, wait, hang on. Now you're really messing with our heads. So I'll come back to that. Oh, you've done a desktop share because that's what you can do in Teams. And you're sharing our Skype call, which is what we're broadcasting from. Ah, okay. That's cool. But it's good.
I've done that with the Surface Hub when you I've done that with the Surface Hub where you share the desktop, where you project to it at the same time that you're presenting the screen, and it just does exactly this. So I'm going to stop that until one of our computers will blow up.
Probably will. But again, that's another use case that we want to work, isn't it? Within Microsoft Teams and guest access, we want to be able to share desktops. We want to be able to have conversations. We want to be able to work on documents. So it's hitting all those marks that we need.
Yep. You're correct.
In your experience of Teams there, Matt, how are you finding the desktop sharing experience in Teams?
It's limited in comparison to Skype for Business. You have to do a desktop as opposed to an app. But often you can work with that. The media is pretty smooth. You can jump right in. It's not a lot of. It's pretty good. That's my thing. The one thing that you might have to get used to is one call at a time. So let's say you're in a meeting like this and you get a phone. Well, you're not going to get a phone call, but let's say another colleague tries to call you. The notice you're going to get is you can't have two calls. It's going to stop one of the calls. It doesn't put it on hold. You have it. It's not a real terrible thing because in Teams, if you're in a meeting, you can easily join back in. It's pretty straightforward to do it. But at the moment, Teams handles one call at a time.
And I think that it goes beyond the team because you're actually kind of handling one conversation at a time. Whereas one of the things that I think I was talking about with a partner yesterday who actually wants to implement Teams for themselves, and they're a small organization, was the fact that what we're used to in this world now is that we may have Outlook open with multiple email pop-ups or calendar pop-ups, so multiple instances, if you will, of Outlook running at the same time. What we also may have is within Skype for Business is we have multiple IM and maybe a video, and then we may have multiple Word or email documents. So what we're able to do is to multitask really well within each of those individual applications, which can be quite frustrating as you see, sometimes you go to somebody's computer and they've got tons of different browser tabs open. So finding something can become a bit of a frustration. But that's the thing, is what we have is that ability to multitask heavily within our Windows experience, which you would argue is actually not necessarily such a good thing. So Teams actually, I think, frustratingly so, but it's a good thing, makes you concentrate on this conversation at a time, that conversation at a time, this document at a time. So we're not actually able to multitask as much as we do now, which I actually think is a positive thing because multitasking is not actually something that many people are very good at. And so we suffer as a result of it.
I think the people who recognize their lack of multitasking skills call it sort of task switching, not multitasking, don't we? Where I can stir a pan of coffee beans as I'm cooking those up and roasting them, and I can be stirring a pot of porridge, but there's not really much thinking involved. It's just muscle memory. But I can't really be part of two or three conversations at once. I end up telling people to I'll get back to you. But we are trying here, aren't we?
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. I tend to believe, my guess is moving forward, you will actually be able to handle more than one call. That way you can choose if you want to multitask / task switch or whether you don't want to. But in any event, it works reasonably well as it is. But yeah. And
let's try that.
Yep.
I've got the ability to call Loryan, so I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to do audio to keep it simple. Mm-hmm. And while he's getting that and answering that, potentially.
And this is different than the Teams call. This is a one-to-one chat audio call. So they're
there it is.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so you're receiving that. Now let's see if I go over and try the same thing. So that's still
a great repeat at the moment. It's a good echo.
Sorry. Oh, mute.
Echo.
So we've got a call going there with Loryan. The call, my network quality is poor. I know this. I'll go into Matt and I'll try and do the same thing. Creating a new meeting. So it's not really a meeting, but it does say that there's a call in progress. We'll remove you from the existing one. There you go. So yeah, we know that. Based on some hints earlier, there's more stuff to come, and that kind of capability infrastructure we expect to be able to come with the experience from the Skype team later on. Cool. So this is hitting a number of boxes, isn't it, guys? You go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Yes, a lot of them. One of the things you'll notice on this chat screen is it's a far it's far more basic than Skype for Business. There's nothing like groups. And, from coming from the Skype for Business side, the teams, they're wonderful. They're great, and they far excel Skype for Business. But when you move over to this chat area where it's one-to-one, you start losing some things that it's not quite the same. I think one-to-one chat has some work that needs to be done yet.
Right. Well, here's an example of that group chat. It's still basic, but I can certainly get a conversation going with two or more people. It's just a question
in all
of
honesty, sorry, to jump in. As basic as it is, it's better than email. For this exact, a lot of times, email is a group chat thing. That yes, we'd like them to use Skype for Business, or we'd like to use Yammer. So here we've got a simpler group chat that's integrated to other things, allows me to switch to other elements of my work.
Yeah, it's certainly rather than sending one-liner replies back and forth. Now that's the interesting commentary signature I have, I guess, around the interesting commentary I have around Outlook groups is that's exactly what it is. It's a presentation of a one-liner, two-liner chat experience, but is using email in the background. So even email is going that direction, isn't it? With the groups experience. Looks like we could start a call.
I'm expressing my disappointment right now with I've done a search for Word Up in the Giphy, and it's given me a bunch of. I assume it was a singer because it's largely the same females in scantily clad clothing. Because yes, my safe search is turned off for that. And I have no idea what it's about, but I was after the 1980s singer Cameo with this song Word Up.
Word Up.
The spandex and the codpiece. So Word Up. This thing.
So it looks like the guest access is definitely hitting all the expected boxes. Again, it's one other thing we haven't done, Matt, within this is added additional tabs. And I know that before we started our call, you flicked a few switches to give me permission to create tabs. Looks like I haven't been able to get that permission unless I guess I leave and come back, effectively logging back in. Potentially, could you? Oh, I think you did. But could you add another tab? I don't know, just anything that
I'll do that.
Tends to take your fancy.
So if we go like this, screen, but
there should be no need to refresh because you'll do it, and then it might start a conversation to say Matt has added this tab if you take that route.
You do this.
So while Matt's doing that, for those watching, this is a capability you can turn on or off for your guests. Do you want to give them more control of this collaborative experience and allow them to add and remove channels or tabs? I know that there's channels. I just forget whether tabs is the capability. Oh, you found the GIF. There you go. Right. Now, Matt, have you added that tab?
Okay. Working on it here.
So Matt's also, I think, assuming this, Matt's probably adding a bit of a conversation to say, I've added this tab, take a look. And once he's done that, then the tab should appear in my view as a guest.
All right. Okay. Okey-doke. Getting it the right format here.
I hope everybody's enjoying this live.
Well, while Matt's finishing that sentence there, how often, Loryan, do you use the formatting, extra formatting within the message conversation?
In all honesty, I don't use it much. I think because what I find, there we go, everybody enjoy Cameo and his codpiece. What I enjoy about Teams from a conversational perspective is it's short and sharp. I think if I wanted to do things that were more formally laid out in terms with formatting, I wouldn't be using. I think I'd probably still be reverting to email, but that's more of a mental shift. So I think partly as well is we have to understand and appreciate what our users have, or background our users have. So, for example, myself, back to using Internet Relay Chat or IRC. So having a threaded conversation like this, even with hashtags and whatever else, and tagging people, is something that I did in my adolescent years. So yeah, I don't think of formatting. I'm still used to just quick one-liner responses, even potentially at the expense of punctuation and capitalization.
Yeah, one thing though to add to that I find myself doing is more along the lines that now I'm starting a conversation that it's going to be here, and I find myself that's one of the things I found interesting with Skype for Business. Kind of do it's more effective to really hanging around. Whereas here, you're kind of like you say, all hands meeting, and this is the date, and or whatever, and not the date, but something that it's going to head this conversation, and I could see formatting coming in there actually a little more because it's hanging around. People will search for it and find it later on. And I find the fact that I know that this is starting something that's going to be ongoing, I tend to put a little more effort into it. Something I noticed for someone who lived in Skype for Business, and I got to say, I really love Teams.
Now we'll have a look at the website tab that you have added. You noticed I didn't have to do any refreshing, and it has appeared there at the top. You've started your conversation, so we can just click in, and it, of course, opens up that tab, and we're looking at a search page called Google. So that's I can see the use there of for guest access. And bringing in different sites that might be able to be presented for your project that you're doing together as a guest user. And I think there's a limit to the different types of sites you can expose in there, but that experience was reasonably quick to load that site. There's some other ones that I've tried earlier on where if they require authentication, then of course that's going to slow down a bit too. But definitely that's again meeting one of the needs, and of course you can have that conversation around the tab.
I think what's important to really focus on here is while we're doing this live, that's the thing, is we actually are doing this live, and I don't think we've really had that. The benefit of working across multiple modalities and components of Office 365 Live before. So, we've been able to do things like co-authoring, and yes, we can bring Skype into that now, but we still have to kind of switch in and out of applications, so we haven't been able to then bring other things into it. So, for example, we wouldn't be able to say, hey, I'm now going to share a website with you. We'd constantly have to be switching screens. So I think potentially a little bit of that remains here, but we can be having a live conversation, a live video conversation, and put it into the corner of the screen within the Teams interface. But say, now I'm going to bring in this website. Now I'm going to add this, and how do we think we should be? What should be going into our plan or into our tasks? As opposed to that old school, everybody look at the screen, look at what I'm doing right now. That we can actually be, working on the same experience on everybody's machine. By the way, did my audio come through before?
It did. No, I didn't hear the song.
Oh, didn't you? So I was just dancing on my own, was I?
No, that's right. I just thought you were having a great party there. So what I have done there is created a new Word document. It is taking me out to the Word Online experience. And so while we do have that ability to edit documents in Teams, it looks like we still are pushed towards creating the new documents. And out into the web browser experience. So hopefully that'll change. But look, this is really just hitting all the marks in terms of, day one out of the box. What have we got? We can converse. We can have a call. We can have a meeting. We can share a desktop. We can get documents together, have conversations around documents. We can mention each other. We can grab links. We can create tabs. There's a OneNote test up there. Thank you, Matt. You beauty. OneNote all the way. So we can have a notebook together. That's all of these things are super important, and it looks like from day one, this is really cool. And look, I just haven't even noticed, but because I had opened up the Word document in my browser, all of a sudden I'm working in my browser and I forgot. Oh, actually, it's actually the same experience. Here's the desktop version, and I had just nice and smoothly changed over to the web version. So yeah, I don't want to keep us too much longer, but this has been a really good way of just testing out the guest access and having a discussion around how this is going to benefit many different scenarios for bringing in people. And I think what you called out earlier, Loryan, about we've actually been glassing over this completely, but look how easy it has been to to move between each of these different modalities of how we work together without the need to reach out to all these different separate applications. Huge improvement.
Yeah. I think teams
that thing is a huge improvement, but it's also a huge restriction. So we just have to be kind of balanced. I think that some people are quite comfortable with multitasking. Some people are not. So on one hand, this will be great for some users. On the other hand, maybe it's frustrating for others.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I think it brings the different Office 365 components together that a normal person can just. They don't have to really. It kind of pulls it together in a just pretty fairly natural. Obviously, that means some limitations.
Yeah, I think, and if this is a partner discussion or even a Microsoft hitting their figures discussion, it definitely drives the consumption of Office 365 across those different workloads rather than it just being an exchange conversation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think let's just finish off there, guys, because it's getting late there for Matt, and I've had a few knocks on the door already during our meeting. But this has been awesome. Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity to.
And I need to go listen to Cameo.
You do, and thank you, Loryan, for joining us on Regarding. You do. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on Regarding 365, and that was. A quick look at guest access on the fly, live and in person, but not really in person. So we'll say goodbye to each of our audiences. Catch you later, Periscope, and disconnecting now. And we have YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.